Live. We are live and have Robbie here. Robbie, protokol7, how excited I am to have this conversation.
Hello there. Yeah, thank you again for having us. It's really a nice opportunity to present ourselves and Karma.
Yes, keen to dive right in. But you know what, Robbie? Since we're live, let's get a couple of tweets out there. 3 people listening, so let's give it a moment for people to tune in, and yeah, then we'll kickstart. And we have someone joining us as well, so
Yep,
let's
do that.
Yeah. Okay. Look, and the sole reason I wanted to do this live, Robbie, so thanks for your time, was I'm generally extremely interested in this and been spending a lot of time reading. So I figured rather than having a closed conversation, let's open it up to the community and hopefully, they listen in. If no one tunes in, that's okay. Everyone listens to the podcast and the recorded session, so I'll try to cover what they're thinking as well. We are expecting someone to join us soon, so we'll probably have someone drop in very soon. But I think in the interest of time, let's get started. Cool. Okay, so Robbie, you tuned in for the launch party. We heard from you, but I thought first time on the show, could you give us a bit of a recap who you are, what your team has done, where you come from, and just before you do that, though, let's get your. Who have we got joining us?
It's JC. Also, he's known as HyperConnect from the Twitter.
Okay. Is it HyperConnect? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
He's been doing some great stuff. Okay, let's have him on. Hey, JC.
Hi, morning, afternoon.
Yes, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks, Fez. Thanks for hosting.
Yeah, no. I didn't realize it was you. Okay, great. Because you've written a few articles recently as well, right? And published them on Twitter, along with the breakdown, the excellent breakdown, of course, of Karma DAO. Now it's all coming together.
Yeah, so I've been speaking with Robbie since his proposal, and it's been great chatting and discussing about this CPS proposal. And yeah, we just got talking, and and suddenly, I'm involved.
Excellent. Cool. Well, look, let's. I was just throwing a question off to Robbie. Do you want to tell us a bit about protokol7 and how long you've been in the game, things you've done for Icon?
Okay. Yeah. So officially, we are still a new team. But for the sake of the argument, we already been in the Icon since 2018. So most of our let's say employees, so the team has been involved in the blockchain already in the early days, so around 2014, 15, and so on. So we've already been involved in the development of the bridge, for example. That was from my side.
Okay. So, as in the bridge, the what's on Ohm, did your team work on it?
Yeah, exactly. So I was one of the initial ones, but of course, then development also took its course further, for which I am not able to account, but yeah, I can say I was the early one. And so on top of that, we also been developing some stuff under another company, so cannot really claim a lot of that. But let's say for now, we've mostly been known as OMM contributors, and so we basically engineered the whole front end without the design side. That's from Parrot 9, for those of you who don't know. So as OMM contributors, we got some of course, we built some additional knowledge, experience, and so on. So we decided to establish our own team that would build also its own products. And so in the early days, we actually made the post. If anyone has any ideas what they want us to build, just go for it. And yeah, I think that was a good kickstart in Icon as protokol7, since one of the collected ideas was actually Olympus. And so yeah, we then figure out that that's actually a really great idea to make something new. And so here we are now.
Yes,
Yeah.
look, I remember on launch night, you just dropped this. You came on, and then all of a sudden started saying DeFi 2.0, and my eyes lit up. Obviously, I was, in the middle of the night, as lit up as they could get. But I was genuinely excited and couldn't wait to talk more about what you were exploring. So it was fantastic to see the proposal put up. And originally, when I started questioning, I didn't realize you were catering it to as the Pro Olympus DAO's Pro product line, which we'll dive into soon. But I don't want to be rude. JC, give a bit of. I'm keen to get to know you, how we've come from, how you got involved in the project. What's got you most excited about this?
Yeah, thanks, Fez. Well, to be honest, so I started in crypto in 2017 in the major bubble that we all experienced then. So I was first exposed there, and then more recently during lockdown, actually our first January lockdown of last year, started getting into these different protocols and researching the blockchain space, and came across Icon, and came across your show actually, Fez, which I've been following religiously, which is by the way, you do a great job for the community. I feel that you explain and break down concepts and take the user through the ecosystem in a really clear way. So yeah, thank you for that.
Thanks, appreciate it.
And sort of, I was just following on the sidelines for a while, and then decided to, launch a Twitter account to start capturing some of my ideas and feedback to the community. Shout out to John, one of the community managers on the Discord, really helpful as well to sort of collate all the feedback from iconists around the world. So yeah. But a bit about myself. My background is in marine science, actually. And I currently head up a data analytics team in the maritime intelligence sector. And I'm sort of into crypto as a crypto enthusiast and looking to spread my wings in this space.
Cool. No, excellent. Well, welcome to the show, and thanks for your kind words. And I myself, I know you published a couple of things and won the HX57 bounty, I believe. That was you, right? Yep.
Around the rebalancing
yes,
on the balanced network protocol. Yeah.
Yes, that was fantastic stuff. No, those tweets are brilliant. Keep them up. Looking forward to more of that stuff. So how have you basically, this is a very recent thing. We've gotten involved with protokol 7.
Yeah, absolutely. So I reached out to Robbie personally after his proposal, and after chatting to quite a few community members in the different discords on Ohm Finance and Balance DAO, just to see, get some input of what people are thinking about it. And then both Robbie and I got talking, and turns out Robbie and his team need some help around communication and strategy. And so I sort of thought, well, it's my time to shine.
Love it. Love it. Okay, well, it's good to have you on board and really looking forward to it. And let's dive in. So we've got the formalities out the way. I can already see, by the way, the first question: when will it launch? Love it. We'll come back to that. I want you to paint a picture first before you go giving launch dates. I'm curious to know how long the dev cycle will take till we get to kind of a mainnet release. But we'll come back to that so that Lewis sticks around to the end of the show. Sorry about that. Okay. So, tell us Robbie, why did you land on, what got you looking at DeFi 2.0? At what point did you go, we need to explore this, and this is why?
Mm-hmm.
why did you need to explore it? I'm interested to know that.
Okay. Yeah, so as an early contributor to OMM, I spent a lot of time also in the tokenomics and how it works, how it should work on the long term, and so on. And the thing that kind of got pinpointed was that the liquidity, soon enough you need to stop paying for renting the liquidity, because if you do not, the scenario it's not looking good in the long term. Even if you implement something like long-term staking, like boosted staking, whatever, in the end you're just postponing the end result, and in the end you also do not have any kind of liquidity, which is for DeFi products, I think quite important, because if not, everyone can leave and essentially bank run even with few whales in the game. And yeah, so I had few discussions internally, and then also one of the OMM contributors, the Daiki Lee, was the one to mention that this would also be a really good idea and improvement, not just to OMM, but the whole ecosystem in DeFi. And I thought, yeah, I think that's really interesting idea, and I would love to research how it works. And yeah, so as everyone probably in this call, I went to the docs and see what's going on in Olympus Pro, how this works, why. And yeah, I found really good sense in that. I thought, yeah, why not do it on Icon, since we were looking for some project, but didn't want to really too much recreate the same that already exist on Icon. Yeah, so that was actually one of the most interesting ones to go for, and this is why we decided to go for it.
Yeah, look, I have to say that is what got me a bit excited as well. First, I thought you were going down the reserve currency path like every fork of Olympus DAO does. They all want to be the reserve currency of the ecosystem. But after I asked a few questions and he corrected me, I went looking at the protocol-owned liquidity model, and that's where I had a clicking moment. Like, this will resolve a lot for every protocol that's currently built and established itself on Icon that is suffering the same fate, which is distributing their tokens as LP rewards. But unfortunately, that token then keeps depreciating in value because people are just farming it, and that's fair enough. That's what we're in it. We're in it to make some money, right? So that's great. I love that. Now I want to throw to a question here. There is a great question by Codezilla, the greatest. He may be a coder. What's the difference between DeFi 2.0 and 1.0? And how significant is it for the end user?
Just give me a sec. I'm not sure if my headphone had died. Okay, I think it's fine,
Yeah, you clearly.
So the difference between DeFi 2.0 and 1. So in short, I think it's protocol-owned liquidity. That's for sure one of the things that seems to have popped up now. And if you take a look at the majority of the DeFi products, like the big ones, for example, one that I like, it's the Pancake Swap. So if you take a look at the cake, okay, it started like real low, and then BNB made like huge, like I think was 10x or something, or even more, and of course all the DeFi that has been on smart chain has come to like insane amounts. So the prices of those tokens went insane. But through the time when the hype was over, you can see that almost every crypto that's not like a native DeFi token has gone up, but the DeFi tokens has in average went down, because of course if you always emit so many of the tokens just to run the liquidity, I think in the end you do not get the result you want, because when the opportunity will change for you user to move his assets to better opportunity, why not do it? It's usually the users try to look for the best opportunities, and this usually determines the price and success of the protocol. So yeah, I think that's like the biggest difference between this new protocol on liquidity paradigm compared to the old one, when you just said, okay, let's just incentivize everyone to do everything, and this is it. That's, in my opinion, the biggest difference.
Yeah. And look, I think a good part about that question, and a real big distinction here, is, see, the reason DeFi 2.0 actually became a meme, right? Because someone tweeted it out and then it really picked up steam. But DeFi 1.0 is really your foundational layer. DeFi 2.0 cannot exist without the infrastructure that has been put in currently. All of DeFi 2's POL, reserve currency, everything that they're doing requires essentially what's been set up in the foundational layer. So if we take Icon, for example, as a foundational layer, we've got Balance, Ohm. From a DeFi perspective, these are our foundational layer apps. And then on top of that, now we'll start to see these new protocols that take what these apps output and create new and innovative ways to, create value for token holders and the protocols themselves. So this is probably one of the reasons why we use these labels DeFi 2.0 and 1.0. That's certain things I've picked up from reading and things like that, and particularly shout out to Bankless for enlightening me on that. But yeah, that's cool. So DeFi 2.0, specifically protocol-owned liquidity, really resolves this issue of what's the word I'm looking for? Mass. Where we give the tokens away, basically, incentivization of people putting down their own money into pools. So we'll keep evolving on that concept through the call. JC, have you got anything you want to add? Look, don't he's just step in and talk over me.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good summary. I think if you look back at the different token emission mechanisms that exist today, right? You've got your original proof of work, which Bitcoin essentially uses block rewards to incentivize its miners to maintain the chain and secure the network. And then after that, we had the sort of initial coin offering phase, which was another way of emitting tokens to users, where projects would offer their tokens in the form of some sort of public sale. So similar to what Icon actually did in the early days. And then what we had more recently in the last couple of years is this third way of emitting tokens, which is through liquidity mining. So, this is when a protocol drips out its liquidity to network participants, users who provide value to that protocol, such as borrowers and lenders on Ohm Finance, for example. But because of the way that this liquidity mining works, it's a perpetual sort of expense, if you will, of the protocol. So liquidity mining could be sort of akin to renting. It equals renting. So it may be cheaper to do it this way at first than buying your own liquidity, but once you stop renting, you no longer have that asset. And so I think that's what protocol and liquidity comes into play here in terms of ensuring that. I think liquidity mining is important to begin with as a short-term sort of bootstrapping mechanism to attach capital to a particular project and increase liquidity of that protocol, especially if you're a protocol that requires swapping tokens in and out of different pools. But I think long term, it's important to accrue that value, that sort of defensible value that increases over time, rather than sort of paying out high interest, high APYs to liquidity providers who may or may not be aligned with your protocol's success. They may just be jumping from one high APY pool incentive to another protocol and to another, and they just keep repeating that. And in the process, they will obviously sell the tokens that they've received as a reward. And this is what we sort of call mercenary liquidity provider capital. And so what that does really doesn't incentivize the users to hold your protocol's token and see it through in terms of its success, but rather capture a huge amount early days, which is good for the protocol because that bootstraps that liquidity, but then they sell all their tokens and then the price slowly but surely crashes. And so if you look at, for example, Ohm Finance or even Balance Network, if you look at the graph since inception, both graphs trend in exactly the same way. They start off with a big hype, a big peak, and then slowly but surely you can see those phases of where liquidity providers will just keep selling and selling and selling their rewards to cover their initial capital. So I would say that would be sort of my summary to this narrative.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. So there are a few questions now, guys. Chris, I'm not ignoring your question. I feel I want to go down this one path, and it may help then answer the question you've asked and paint a better picture, hopefully. So we've got the basic concept of what Karma DAO is about, right? Essentially, it is about taking ownership of that liquidity and then keeping a hold of it. And it benefits the protocol. So I want to talk through the scenario of how it will work me as a user who has an LP in balance, and we'll just walk through the whole process. And then I want to come back as a protocol Ohm, as a DAO owner, as a token holder. How does it benefit the DAO and Ohm as a protocol to actually use this process? And then I want to talk about a little bit about the tokens, what incentives there are to actually, lure me into giving up my LP. Like, what's in it for me as a user? So first, let's start off with, as a user, talk me through the process of I have a balanced LP, and why would I come to Karma DAO? Who wants to tackle this?
Okay, I think I can explain that.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so as a user, you come to the bond marketplace where you can see the list of the LP tokens you can provide in exchange for what it's defined as payout token, which, for example, if you hold the balance LP pair, for example, balance SICX or something like that, the payout token, of course, then is the balance, since this is the native token of the balance. And yeah, so you put in the amount of the tokens you want to put in, so to bond, and you get quoted the amount of the balance token you will get in return. And of course, so the quoted amount is going to be discounted, and this is like the first benefit compared to if you were to go straight to exchange, so to sell LPs and then go for OMM tokens. It's cheaper for you to go there and take with the discount. So anyone in interest in getting those tokens by discount can go through that path. So to get LPs, go to bond, get quoted the amount, and you receive the discounted amount. And yeah, that's the first benefit. And yeah, so you're
Robbie, I'll pause you. Just look, as I may keep interjecting. Only reason is I know when I started researching DeFi 2.0, personally, like 5, 10 times, I kept getting thrown off with different concepts. So when Robbie's mentioning the bond, like the bond is a terminology used where you give up an asset for a discounted price that vests in a certain time frame. So majority of these kind of vest over a period of 5 or 10 days. That's how these protocols are built. So this is why me as a user would go to Karma DAO, because I would have, let's say, an LP in balance that is worth $100 because I've just put it in. All of a sudden, I can walk up to Karma DAO and say, "Oh, they're giving me a 15% discount where I give this $100 and I get 15% off, basically that $100." So I'm walking away with profit. However, it will vest over a period of, say, 5 days. Now back to you, Robbie. So that we've gone through that process. What's next?
Okay, yeah. So the question that usually arises is, where do the LP tokens go and who actually is in their possession? And the answer to this question is, for each protocol that's connected, so OMM, balance, and so on, they each get created their own custom treasury, of which the owner are they. So they own the liquidity. So the LP tokens in the end are not controlled by Karma, but the protocol itself. And that's one important thing that's usually not exposed as clearly as probably it should be, because some did get the concern that, yeah, why the Karma should have this possession of such huge liquidity and what prevents them from doing, just the bad things. And yeah, in the end, we have no control over this liquidity. So yeah, that's the end result from Karma.
Yes. Okay. That's good. So that's from user is giving it up. It's going into they get the LP. They get the balance token as a reward, as a discount. Then Karma DAO basically just holds it for the protocol. You said
No, so
I missed
the
that part.
Karma
Sorry.
does not have. Yeah, so there is a specific score deployed for each DeFi protocol that's connected.
Okay.
And the owner that's being set, it's actually the protocol itself and not Karma. So they have complete control over this contract in the end.
Okay. So you're basically just acting as that bridge for each of the protocols, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's a user. Let's now talk. Let's bring it across and talk from a protocol perspective, because the way I see Olympus DAO and some other forks and stuff, when they're launching this pro version, they keep referring to, we're onboarding partners. So that's kind of what it is for you as Karma DAO. It is, you're setting up this infrastructure and then you need to onboard partners, and those partners are Balanced, Ohm, etc. So I'm Ohm, okay? Even though it's a DAO, like, just for this moment, let me enjoy it. I'm Ohm. I come to Karma DAO. What benefit? How does it benefit me?
Yeah. So, for example, as OMM, you are probably, I mean, I know that you are providing quite a lot of emissions of OMM to the LP providers, and that's resulting in bad behavior, or at least I would say that they usually stay just for the farm and then leave as the opportunity is going to be presented. And so, okay, you fear for them to run away, and all of the missions you gave to them to then be sold on the market, which is not like the optimal behavior you want. And so you say, okay, we want to gain some liquidity. And then the question from our side would be, how much will you emit to your Karma treasury instead. So in the end, the question is, how much liquidity do you want to get in what time? And then, of course, you would accordingly adjust the emission that you give to LP providers to split it up and give some portion into your Karma treasury, where they would be aggregating. And so for that amount, you would be able to then get the bonds and get the liquidity slowly into your possession. You can even go step further and just redirect the emissions that go to LPs to your Karma treasury if you feel that you are kind of on the edge of being able to provide so much emissions to LPs, and the price is dumping because of it. So yeah, that's the first thing, and then of course there are few things you need to decide. What's the discount you want to give? What's the vesting period, and so on. So there are few configurations that can be set, and then yeah, then we of course look at how much liquidity is it, how fast you want to get it, and so on. But yeah, that's like the first conversation we would probably have.
So, okay, then this is where I'm curious as well. It was interesting what you said. So, either one, the DAO would have to put to a vote a redistribution process for their LPs, or two, they could leave it the same, but someone would need to bootstrap the bonding process, right? Because if they do not change the emissions to go, okay, we need to say curb it so that we route it for POL style, a process for POL through Karma DAO. Is there, the question comes up, bootstrapping, how would that work? Is that something the protocol would have to work through themselves?
You mean the bootstrap, like the initial
exactly. So
whole process.
Exactly, because if they don't reroute LPs, like why, if I'm the first person who goes after it goes live, if I'm the first person to go, someone has to put something into the pool first, right? Before it becomes kind of incentivized and there's profits to lower the sale price of the OHM token for luring in more LPs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the question is, I'm not sure if you think how to bootstrap the process with Karma or in general.
So for me as OHM, if my token holders didn't want to vote for changing the rewards in any way, how could I still partake in Karma DAO by?
Yeah, I think in DAO, probably, I'm not sure if there is other way that does not break the rules of DAO.
Yeah,
I think the only way is through the proposal, at least in DAO space. Yeah, I mean, either you do that, so propose to change the schedule, or you propose to provide some amount of your DAO funds to Karma. So, but either way, you have to propose and get the proposal through to really go in DAO way of how things are done.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense, and that was good. I'm glad you cleared that up. Okay, now I want to quickly look at some questions. JC, feel free to add anything you want, or Robbie, keep going. What have we got here?
Yeah. Well, I was just actually looking at one of David's questions. So David was asking, so we the people, the liquidity providers, hand over our LP tokens to Karma DAO in return for a reward, ? So yeah, just to break it down for the user then. So let's say the user is a big believer in OHM finance. So that user would essentially provide a OHM let's say Ohm USD pair. So that could be Ohm USDS, Ohm IUSDC, as that liquidity provider token to the protocol, in exchange for the Ohm token, the native token, at a discounted rate. So you give in, let's say, $100 worth of a liquidity provider token, an LP token, of let's say 50-50 Ohm and USDS. So you'd $50 worth of Ohm and $50 worth of USDS. And in return, you would get, let's say, $115 back worth of Ohm. So that would be your reward. You would get more Ohm back than you put in, and more dollar value generally of that token. Why would you want to do that? Well, first you want to make sure that you can capture that additional discount. So in this case, a 15% discount, let's say. I'm not too sure how much the discounts will be, but that will be determined most likely algorithmically. But then the main value add, I think, from my perspective at least, for the LP provider is that you do not have any exposure to impermanent loss. That for me is a big selling point for the user. So long-term holders, they're not incentivized to provide liquidity due to impermanent loss. So if I'm an LP provider and I put in a $100 worth of Ohm and $100 worth of dollars, let's say, in that LP token, and if I look at the Ohm graph as of today, my value has significantly decreased. So rather than being that LP provider and suffering from impermanent loss, you give that LP token to the protocol, and that shift, that loss is shifted from the user to the protocol. So the protocol is experiencing the impermanent loss, but at the same time, the protocol owns both of those assets. So it's essentially the protocol is getting assets for its own protocol, and users are incentivized to purchase the token at a discount and not suffer from impermanent loss, so they can keep staking without that fear, essentially. And additionally, as well for that, what it does is increases the stability of the liquidity pools. So holders can be sort of assured that there will be enough liquidity that will reside within the protocol, rather than being dependent on mercenary liquidity providers, where the slippage could vary significantly if there's a lot of liquidity removed all at once. But in this case, because the protocol would own the majority of the liquidity, that slippage, you can make huge trades with very, very few slippage, and be confident that you could, sell or buy large quantities without suffering from slippage, essentially.
Yeah. There's been a few follow-up questions, and I want to ask, and it may help with this as well. So generally with the reserve currency setup, they offer bonds because they're trying to build a treasury, right? And part of the incentivization of either getting the discount is you get it at 10%, and then if hopefully 5 days later, you can instantly sell it back and make 10%. And there's an or you can stake it, because the way the protocols are designed is the longer you stake, the compounding effect, you start earning. Well, one of them I'm using, apparently in a year I'm going to be worth billions. Don't worry, guys, billions. But that is an over exaggeration. But in this particular Karma DAO setup for POL, is there a staking factor here? Is something like that? Is this being built as part of the Pro product, where the bond is issued and they can either just hold the balance token and come to Karma DAO and stake it for better rewards, or that is not part of the Pro product?
No, I do not think that's the part of the product. The only staking part that's most probably is going to be implemented, it's around the native Karma token. So we will probably provide that, because that can be beneficial to a certain degree. But yeah, that's the only thing that we will provide.
Okay, no, that's good. So, okay, so then coming back to some of these questions, let's see. So, rewards for simple LP providers go down, and the rewards for 2.0 LP providers go up because they actually help the protocol retain liquidity.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
a fair.
essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right.
I think when looking at that, in the perfect world, this POL style exists to essentially do away with simple LP providing. Really, the core goal for the POL is to acquire everyone's liquidity. Like they don't want to incentivize individual liquidity; they want to incentivize through this POL product. And it benefits, as then JC and Robbie have talked about, because essentially, then when we see markets dump and things like that, what is the one constant we know is all the LP ascertained through the sales at the discount of their native tokens, they sit there. The protocol will not be removing it. So we do not have this trickle effect that currently happens where everyone starts pulling out, liquidity starts slipping. And so this is where it's kind of being hailed as a breakthrough product. And that's why this label of DeFi 2.0, it cannot exist without the infrastructural core DeFi protocols. Yeah, otherwise there would be nothing. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I would also say that let's say Own Finance or Balance Network, they want to be part of this. They don't need to go in 100% into this. They could still continue with their normal liquidity provision token emissions and rewarding high APYs to their users. They could implement protocol own liquidity by themselves as well. They could code that in, factor that in, and build that out for themselves. And then they could also use a protocol own liquidity as a service through Karma. So they could have three avenues of essentially owning their own liquidity and also bringing in new users. So I think one of the major incentives for protocols, because we've talked about the user and how that benefits the user, but what's in it for the protocols themselves? Well, in terms of Karma right now, obviously it's not a product yet; it hasn't launched yet. So initially, there isn't essentially a platform to be part of, like there is for Olympus Pro, where Olympus DAO has created this ecosystem and are now offering this out to protocols. So they already have a big following. They have a lot of users, and so that immediately attracts users to the Olympus Pro side of things, and potentially attract new users to new protocols. A bit like a marketplace where you can go and have a look at all the different protocols offering their tokens up at a discount, and users can go and provide liquidity to those and get those tokens at a discount and become hopefully long-term holders of that token. But I think what's the major incentive here is that protocols wouldn't have to spend all this time developing a relatively complex set of architecture, essentially, to make this work. You would also get a compounding effect of more and more protocols being added to the marketplace. So let's say I'm thinking, Icon 2.0, BTP launches. We have the first integration with Binance Smart Chain, let's say, and then suddenly Karma is also live, and it's got a bit of Ohm in there, it's got a bit of Balance, but then suddenly it can bring in Binance Smart Chain DeFi protocols. And then suddenly there is a huge amount of user base that is attracted to this marketplace, introducing Binance users or Binance Smart Chain users to Icon protocols. And again, that's sort of that snowball effect until you get to that critical mass, whereby suddenly you have a huge amount of users exposed. So that would be the main advantage, is that sort of platform, and I would say marketing communication of your protocol on that marketplace. That would be the main advantage for protocols. And obviously, if they couldn't implement their own POL concept, then they would have access to that as well, which essentially is buying liquidity off of users rather than renting it.
Yeah. I particularly love it because, for example, I think balance is a great one. Okay, we know they want to go down the curve model. Okay, the community voted for it. Now it takes months to create it, right? And they've been hard at work and pumping out content, all kinds of getting stuff done. But it still takes a while testing it, etc., before it gets to mainnet. Now, if suddenly, let's move to a POL model. Okay, back to the drawing board. Let's test it. Let's say with Karma DAO, no, they don't. They literally can go to Karma DAO, have a vote on balance through the DAO, going, "Hey, we want to reroute this through here. These are the benefits for the protocol. It secures our liquidity. It does this. It aids the tokenomics in this way." Bam, done. There's no in-dev process, and that's the true beauty of this protocol. And you can see every time I talk about it just how excited I keep getting. So I want to, though, keeping an eye on the time as well. I want to talk about the tokenomics for Karma DAO. But before I do that, Codezilla, I noticed you asked a question. So from your question is, what's the catch? What's the risk to that hypothetical $100 worth of LP tokens I've given to Karma DAO?
Yeah, I can take that one. So let's say you provide that $100 to Karma. So let's say $50 worth of OM and $50 worth of USDS. You will then get in return the OM token at a discount, but you don't get it all in one go. You get it over a period of 5 to 7 days, is what most protocols have implemented. So it's this vesting period, and you can claim your discounted OM tokens as a sort of dripped out over those 5 days. What is the risk of you losing any money on that? You could, for example, if there's extremely high volatility in the market, so let's say OM shoots up or shoots down in price during those 5 days, yes, theoretically, your LP that you've put in of $100 and the OM that you receive back over those 5 days could have decreased in value. So there is that risk. That is a potential catch. But at the same time, you got to remember that you're an LP provider, so it would have been exactly the same if you would just stuck your LP in OM in the first place. You would have received that same sort of impermanent loss, let's say. So, yeah, that impermanent loss is really quite reduced, or if not essentially eliminated for just those 5 days. So I wouldn't say there is no. There is a very low
risk. That is basically that's the risk involved at the moment. But what's it for you? Well, or generally, like if you see something and you go, I have to wait 5 days and there's potentially a 15% reward at the end of it. Now, crypto at the moment is volatile, but this is what's actually happening across all the chains. This concept, and traders just that's a great risk for them to take in 5 days, 15% profit. Let's go. Let's try those odds. Keeping that simple, and I think now, why would we want to do this, partake in this? And I think this is where your tokenomics start to play a part. Karma DAO's token itself, and I wanted to spend the last how we're going 10 minutes, 12 minutes here focusing on your tokenomics, because questions are raised. Well, why do you need tokens if it's all about the other tokens? And there seems to be an abundance of tokens here. So can you give us a bit of a breakdown of why there's a Karma DAO token, and I'm hoping the whole staking process comes into play here, because that's the real kicker of this. Who'd like to tackle it?
Yeah. Let's first expose the first thing. So what we as Karma get from that, from providing this service. So Olympus Pro, for example, is charging, I think, 3.3% fee. So when the user is quoted the amount he will receive, he's actually quoted the amount minus that fee. And that fee is then actually redirected to the Karma treasury, so Karma DAO treasury, and the native DeFi protocol tokens, then they sit there forever. So it's basically some kind of 3.3% deflation in some sense, because you actually will never use those tokens to be sold or any other way. So that's the first point. And then the question is what to do with the treasury, and how, if we can find a way to utilize those tokens in some beneficial ways. For example, OMM has the voting power attached to the OMM token. That's the first thing. Then on balance, I think you get some percentage of the network fees if you stake the balance token and so on. Okay, so we thought how to, on one side, incentivize people to provide as much LPs as we can, and then on the other side, provide some utility to the Karma token, or I can say initially it will be called X Karma. And on top of it, how do we want to position X Karma to then be mapped to the actual Karma, which is going to be the reserve currency? And if anyone's read about Olympus and how they launch, it's actually they had some kind of pre-sale of POM, and so we thought, why not incentivize them to provide the LP tokens and be also then able to be one of the early adopters of the Karma as our reserve currency. And so we established this model when some percentage of X Karma would go then, of course, to the LP token providers. On the other side, some amount would go to the treasury, to already provide some value. And of course, because this is being developed as DAO, we also want community to governance who is going to be a new partner along the way. So in the end, we came with this schema where I think we can kind of satisfy all of those needs and also provide some utility to the token besides being just like the governance token. So essentially, if you provide LP tokens based on the daily distribution of who provided how much in percentages, you will be then quoted each day some X Karma, and you will be eligible to be one of the first adopters of Karma. And we also saw, if you were early in Olympus, you would have benefited quite a lot. So yeah, that's like the thought process we had.
Yeah, well, that's brilliant. You've answered a ton of questions in that, because, we were earlier struggling with, well, why, if the protocols don't change anything, why would a user come and deposit their LP? Well, Robbie's just answered everyone's question, because even if they do not route token, nothing gets voted. You can, as a user, you look at Karma DAO and go, well, hang on a second, I can give up my LP, get 10% off, the token, and at the same time get a little bit of Karma DAO's token as a incentive. That itself is a win-win. And then obviously, as we've talked through this entire show, all the other reasons. But so you are planning, the other thing you've just dropped, and I feel like serious alpha right now. So you are actually deploying in reverse. You're creating a pro product first, because that's going to aid the Icon ecosystem immensely. And then off the back of that, you're actually going to launch the reserve currency through it. Have I heard this correctly?
Yeah, I think this approach we took, it's much more fair than the Olympus, because they actually made a pre-sale to investors and some early people, also of course the advisors and so on. And the way we want to do it, it's actually to build some kind of treasury in first place and try to utilize it in a way that only the people that will be the early, how to say, providers of LP tokens are going to be the ones to be the first in Karma, which I think it's the most fair approach for everyone in the end.
Will it be holding the X Karma token, or is it, and then you can purchase like the bootstrapping? Because the reserve currency they have, just for context, all of them start the same way. They need to be bootstrapped in some way, shape, or form before then it can start opening up where people can then buy into it at a discount, and then they get this compounding staking effect. But so with basically you're selecting the people who get to qualify for the reserve currency part of it via the actual putting in of the partaking in early in the pro product, which is brilliant and fair, and that is incentive enough. Every moment it's like, I just want to ask you, when are you deploying? Are we ready to go yet? But so that's great. But will it be a swap of the tokens, or will it be more for if you hold this, you can qualify for this much of purchase of the reserve currency token?
Yeah, I think it probably will be done, I think, through some kind of snapshot, because of course we need to select specific moment and then just consider that in mapping the amounts to proper address. So we'll probably introduce some kind of P karma in between. So you will get, in return for X karma, you will get P karma if, of course, you will want to do it. I'm not sure if it's going to be a swap or snapshot. We still need to think through that. But approximately that's how it's going to work.
And then when that happens, then this is where the staking part, which we may pin that. I don't want to confuse the pro product. I think right now we've got the pro product. I want to quickly run through. JC, feel free to throw anything on top while I'm looking at some of these questions.
Yeah, no, I think it's Robbie explained it very well. It's essentially we're attracting liquidity providers to Karma through this incentive of owning a piece of the pie early on. So rather than doing a pre-sale, you would incentivize liquidity providers to join the platform, use it, and get rewarded with the token. And then, as Robbie was saying, that can then represent the Karma token in the reserve currency at some point, either via a snapshot or otherwise other mechanisms. So it's essentially a bootstrapping liquidity provider type action as a short-term method, but then it's obviously not a long-term game. The long-term game is to transition those early adopters and users to the actual reserve currency, which will be called Karma.
So you mentioned, because I guess with the reserve currency, the underlying fact is there's always $1 backing it, right? That's the whole goal of it. There's always something in the treasury. So at the moment with the LPs, you described that, say it was 15% discount. Off that, it includes a 3% fee off the DAO. So is the pro side of it utilizing the same concept, that it'll only mint the Karma token based on a certain amount backing it per token, or that concept won't be used for the pro version?
No. So for the Karma bond side of things, the concept will not be quite the same, but at the moment of, I would say, mapping the X karma to Karma, of course, this ratio will need to be respected. So based on the treasure we build, you will get the correct amount of
it'll
Karma.
Convert. Okay. Yeah, good. I'm glad what I said makes sense, because after I finished it, I was like, oh God. Okay, no, that's great. James, to answer your question, yes, so Balance was always meant to ship with the same feature where the voting delegation matters. It will soon. It's coming, hopefully very soon. And so essentially through Balance as well, we'll be able to pick where our staking is going to, which PREP, which is great. Have I missed any other questions here? I don't believe so. Okay, guys, I've been asking a lot of questions. Is there anything we haven't covered that you feel you wanted to get off your chest? to the community. Don't let the 12 people on right now phase you, but there'll be hundreds that listen to this post this session.
Yeah, I think just as a closing statement for myself, because I got to jump off now. But it's essentially what we're going to try and do here is really integrate the different Icon DeFi protocols into something that potentially could help them become more sustainable tokenomics, sustainable price, sustainable liquidity pools, and allowing them to be part of a marketplace, which with BTP, I really think is a strong, powerful move, and could diversify that protocol's liquidity and treasury as well. So not only would they continue with the classic LP model, but they could also then benefit from this marketplace and discounting of tokens. I think what's really exciting for Iconists is the ability to participate early on and essentially be part of this pre-sale of the Karma treasury through the usage of it, and this treasury will hopefully also grow in value as the protocol tokens also grow in value due to their stability and more powerful tokenomics, essentially creating a deflationary asset, since all the liquidity will then be owned by the protocols, and their emission rate will be drastically reduced, creating a supply shock, if you will. So it's all in benefit of the protocols, and then those protocol DAOs would get even more powerful in that sense, and their treasuries will get more powerful. And what I think is really interesting is that with larger funding, these DAOs could then use some of their treasury to invest in other DAOs and invest in other protocols. And so this could be a gateway whereby Balanced or Home Finance could invest in a Binance Smart Chain DAO, for example, or Liquidity pool, in further increasing yield-bearing assets within their treasury. And so I think this is what's really exciting, is that Karma would be a platform to allow those protocols to do just that.
Yeah, excited, very. Now, before I let you go, Robbie, just someone's been asking, when are we going live, etc. They've gone to CPS for funding, and I believe it's about to get approved or has been approved. But Robbie, what is the timeline looking like once you get approved and funding? How quickly can we turn this around? Tomorrow, day after?
I think by the Christmas. Nah, just kidding.
I don't even. I just had a heart attack.
First, we of course are officially waiting for the CPS to go through, and then I think the official timeline is for 4 months, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So I think from my side, I think in like third month there should be already some kind of deployments to the testnet. But of course, it also depends on the protocols like OMM and Balance to pass the proposal in first place. But yeah, I think already in this month we are going to start to establish some new communication channels like Discord, Twitter, so on for Karma. And I would use this opportunity to invite anyone who is passionate about how Olympus has done things and wants to be one of the early adopters of Karma on Icon, to reach out to me, to the team, our Telegram, Twitter, and so on. Like, for example, JC did it, and we already connected and found some great collaboration on how we can proceed. So yeah, feel free to DM us. We are open to everyone, and would really like to see this community to grow and make really good stuff on Icon and its new, I would say, season of DeFi 2.0.
Yeah, agree. Look, and just one note I want to put. I know we've said, damn, I left my blinds on and the sun's coming in my eye. We keep focusing on Balanced and Ohm, but something like this, benefits any protocol, literally any protocol that wants to distribute a token. For example, Gangster Bet right now, they're having the same thing. They're trying to incentivize liquidity. They would not have to go down this path. They could partner with Karma DAO. There's an incentive for the Karma DAO tokens while they're being dispersed. And the protocol, they get it, sell it at a discount, etc., and that's how the process will work. This is where this is a real beauty of this infrastructure. So to me, I personally see Karma DAO as a very much an infrastructural product that is being built on Icon to enable all the dApps take on this process. So very excited. I believe we have answered all the questions. And Chris, you mentioned must know the process openly once a product is released. Yes, I think already if you go to the proposal, there's a real clear diagram of everything that transpires in the process. In fact, what I didn't know was these fees that get taken out of that bonding process. I didn't actually realize that happened in the background. So Robbie, thank you for being extremely transparent there on how that works. And it has helped really click a lot of things in place today for me as well.
One of the first things we are going to implement is the white paper on Gitbook, when every detail will be explained, and also explain why this is the case. So of course the whole process will be as transparent as it can be, because there is nothing to essentially not show to the community.
Yeah, agree. Look, guys, thank you for coming on. Just conscious of time as well. Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. I had a ball. Clearly, you could tell I was really enjoying the conversation. I believe for everyone who did stay on, everyone was extremely active, and there was a lot of better understanding and help paint the picture. So success. Good stuff, guys. Really appreciate Robbie, JC taking the time to come on the show. And I'm sure this is going to pass, and expect me to hound you more frequently now going, how are we tracking? Are we ready yet? Very excited.
Thank you so much, Faiz, for hosting us. Real pleasure.
No worries, guys. Take care.
It's been amazing. We really appreciate also for all of your efforts to promote this, because it's really amazing things we want to build, and it's really helping us a lot that you do that.
No worries. I'm a big fan, guys. Good work. Until next time, take care, everyone. Thanks for listening. Not financial advice, as always. Take care.
Bye-bye.